Y'all, so this is the Central PWX YouTube channel. I'm joined by,
I'm Pluto.
I'm Skippy.
and we're the founders of Central PWX. So, right now we're looking at the GFS model. We're going to talk to y'all about the up and coming storms. So, y'all ready to roll?
Yep.
Here we go. So, time and date is in the up left hand corner. So, this is Wednesday at 4 p.m. CST. Some showers and storms here in the Carolinas. Nothing too severe. And then you see our line of storms already starting to develop here around 7 p.m. Central. That moves through right there, which this is a model that's far out, so this doesn't look as impressive, which if we switch like the NAM or something, it would look a lot more impressive. Which, do y'all want to go over to the NAM real quick to look at the NAM for...
Sure.
Alright, so we'll go to the NAM.
So essentially, we're all monitoring a potential, and I say potential for a
Strong
possible
to severe tornadoes.
and severe weather threat overall. It's looking like the main threats of this system will roll by starting Monday, mid Monday. That's meaning around noon to 3 p.m. before storms continue. Um, these storms will progressively get stronger as Gulf moisture reaches, helping advection pull north into the Dallas area, the Houston area, uh, just I guess southern and southeastern Texas. These storms will progress over the day into Tuesday, where there will be more of a significant tornado threat on Tuesday across Louisiana and Mississippi. However, of course, it's still far out. However, it does look very concerning.
And you can see that this threat goes out through multiple days, and this could become like a very consecutive severe weather outbreak. And usually we don't get stuff like this, but when we do get it, it becomes pretty dangerous in some situations.
Which,
So the SPC also has issued a slight for day 8 or day 7 now. However, this was issued yesterday on day 8. This has only happened, I believe, around 4 or 3 times. All times that this has been issued, resulting in high end outbreaks throughout uh, the U.S. So it's definitely something that's very concerning that the SPC is warning early on about.
And something that they haven't even forecasted yet on the SPC yet is another possible severe outbreak for parts of Missouri and Iowa, where there's a possibility for some very straight, I believe mostly straight line winds with over 3,000 cape in some areas, which can with that much cape can become a very dangerous situation, and you could get a few tornadoes. And I think the main threat for let's say next Saturday in the Missouri area will probably be straight line winds and heavy hail.
y'all can
So
already see some of the what could be supercells here in southern Oklahoma near Lawton. And then you have a line of strong to severe storms right here from Oklahoma all the way up to northern Kansas. And then you have the snow behind it, which you can kind of see in these few little storms here in northeastern Texas, which, if this does come out to be true, then these will most likely produce tornadoes because they have all of this energy and nothing's
Yeah,
going to stop it.
and the reflectivity that you're looking at right now, with those isolated supercells and that many, it's very possible for a large tornado outbreak. But um, it's very possible that some of these days could get a enhanced risk. But obviously that's not my decision. That's the decision by the Storm Prediction Center. Um, but yeah,
Also,
also the main, it's not just severe weather. It's also there's a possible threat for maybe another winter storm. Of course, it's mid March, and nobody likes to see snow in mid March unless you like snow, of course. But yeah.
so looking, I mean, with Monday, which is kind of, I've been focusing more on Monday. However, forecasted soundings, especially on the GFS, I've noticed there is high moisture intake as well as dry. There's a lot of dry air available in the upper layers of the atmosphere, which will allow for definitely a high end hail threat. I've seen steep lap rates, which excess of 8.0, which is pretty significant, but also with CAPE values and instability values, rising above possibly even 3,000. I have seen a few forecasted soundings and even a few, I guess, runs suggesting 3,000 CAPE. However, I think it's more likely we're going to see 1,000 to 1,500, maybe at max 2,000. But again, that Gulf moisture will definitely be something to carefully consider as we watch this outbreak for the next week or so.
And Carb, if you don't mind just switching over to the Cape parameter here on Weather Bell.
A lot of CAPE in Texas and southern and central Oklahoma. You can see we've got 1,400 right here in northern Texas. Southern Oklahoma, we have 1,100 right here. And then if I zoom out here, we still have all of this energy that will most likely head up into the storm.
And
So,
you can just you can go ahead.
All right. So, definitely it looks from here based on what I'm seeing. I haven't looked a lot at the 18th nor the 17th, but I've seen a few models, a few predictions, I guess. And of course, it looks like there's possibly a dry line or a front ahead of that low pressure system, which appears to be just on the panhandle of Oklahoma, maybe somewhere in Kansas, northern Texas. But I believe possibly that if there is a dry line, which I have strong evidence possibly to believe that, or a front, we could see definitely some sort of active tornado threat, a brief tornado threat, with the 18th severe weather threat.
And then if I go ahead.
And if you go ahead in time on the GFS here, for the
this is the name, by the way.
I know. If you don't mind switching over to GFS.
Yep.
So if you look here for the CAPE values and you just forward in, for the severe weather, that CAPE just keeps feeding in from the Gulf, and it goes all the way through the 26th. Of course, I focus more on Missouri personally. And if you skip over to the 26th, if you don't mind, and you can see all those CAPE values, and it just comes right back up again for another round of severe storms. You can see CAPE values up all the way up to 2,400.
Yeah, 2,400 right there near Houston.
And then if you keep going here, okay, so now we're on March 22nd. I'm not sure if it goes as far as 26. But I looked at a sound.
It doesn't go to 26. It goes to 24.
Same for pivotal weather too. But I saw a sounding for the 26th somewhere in Missouri. They didn't give me the exact location, but I've seen CAPE values just well over 2,900 CAPE, which is very concerning. That can lead to a main and possible hazard is tornadoes. And yeah, I'll send the sounding to Skippy here because he's kind of a sounding nerd here. He can look at the hodograph and see what he thinks of it.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to be entering a very active pattern over the next week and a half. I mean, it's definitely concerning that we're seeing, I guess, we're seeing deep troughing across most of the central and the western United States here. Um, I'm gonna observe what I see on this sounding here. Actually, let's see, like the live.
Which the GFS doesn't suggest that it's going to be that big of a storm system. It's making it seem like it's going to be a squall line.
I definitely feel like the main threat for a squall line is probably through the 26 and just slightly off before that. I definitely think this squall line would be mainly threat through Iowa and Missouri. It's not going. I'm just telling everybody this. It's not going to be like March 5th. I don't believe for the risk that will possibly be on the 26th for Iowa and Missouri will be isolated supercells, and I feel like it will be more of a risk for some straight line damaging winds with the squall line, which is I mean, of course, it's concerning no matter what type of weather it is, but yeah, I definitely think that this is a very bad and very long term severe weather outbreak. Skippy, take it away with that sounding.
All right, so I've been looking at it here. I do notice there is I guess, there's a dry slot here, but I believe it's good enough for a good hail potential. You have pretty good lapse rates. For any other weather nerds or people who study soundings like me, possibly, you would know that in an 8.0, a 7.5 is averaged in the sounding that Pluto has sent me. Now, the deep Cape value does seem to be 870, which is almost near perfect for a pretty good wind threat. The PW does seem to have a pretty a medium significance, I guess you could say. There is as 1.09, which could warrant a high moisture intake, or I guess a moderate moisture intake. Not the highest I've ever seen. Definitely good parameters here. There's pretty thick Cape. It's like it's thin. It's in between thin and thick here. Um, but mainly with this sounding, I think the threats will most likely be damaging winds and hail. But with the hodograph here, there's pretty good backing. There's some good turning on the sounding, especially on the back end of the hodograph. Now, I think all threats are possible with just this sounding, but of course, um, I've only looked at one sounding here from Pluto, so of course, but based off this, it is showing decent parameters for every single threat. But I do think damaging winds and large hail would be warranted with this sounding. Back to you.
Which, as y'all can see right here, I'm more concerned with Monday and Tuesday because if you look here, GFS is just suggesting it turning into like a line of storms and stuff. And then you can already see Tuesday at 10 p.m. It like carries through, as y'all can see. So, and then 1 a.m. it's moved out of the Texas southern area, and then it like loops back around and then starts creating our next line of storms, which will impact Alabama and Mississippi, as y'all can see here, and Kentucky and Tennessee too. Can see that heavier bit of rain right there in around Nashville and Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I've been looking at the GFS for this is between this is mid Tuesday. This is about Tuesday at around 12 p.m. here, and it seems that there's already instability values of reaching about 1,600 joules per kilogram. But also, as the models continue to progress into 7 p.m. Wednesday, what I'm looking at, there is Cape values reaching 2,000 just north of New Orleans. So instability intake. the amount of instability that will be reached, well, I guess Gulf intake will not be a problem at all. Concerning sunlight or convection, it seems that it will be a clear day, possibly, likely, besides the storms, when the storms have convection, they're able to rise to the parcel. It does look like Tuesday and Monday are pretty significant.
And when go ahead.
Just for those.
And definitely when you get those big low pressure systems and they move through they definitely the low pressure systems are always usually a threat for severe weather. But when you get a big low pressure system like we're looking at on the GFS here for the 22nd low pressure system is bringing to me it looks like mostly straight line damaging winds, and we also can't forget about the threat for flash flooding, because when you have like this much severe weather over a long period of time over almost the same area every time, it can lead to minor to major flash flooding. And I guess people getting hit by it won't have to worry about droughts or anything, but flash flooding is never a good thing, and especially areas like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, they all have a lot of rivers which have a very big possibility of flooding. But yeah.
And I started looking at some of the shear for Monday. Just shear for, I guess, across central, southeastern, some of northern Texas. There's pretty good shear values, nearing 70 to 80 knots, which is pretty supportive of tornadoes. But the LLJ, it does seem to be a little weaker, but I don't think that will hold up, and I think the GFS, as convection allowing models come in, we'll start to see a better LLJ, low level jet, across much of the area, which will uphold the tornado.
Which we have a 989 low level jet right here for Monday at 4 p.m., which is not good.
Yeah, that's pretty concerning. But in terms of shear wise and all that, also as well, storm relative helicity, which is another parameter which combines all these, I guess, tornadic composites parameters, and it makes a value. We have 400 to 500 SNRH, which is pretty significant. It will allow for the atmosphere to become very unstable, and for a supercellular environment throughout late Monday to some of early Tuesday before the threat ramps.
And on the 22nd, when we have this trough that moves through areas like New Mexico and Arizona. When it moves through just over Texas, let me check it real quick here. We're getting wind shear at 500 millibars around the surface, around over 105 knots, which will slowly increase as it moves into the Arkansas and Oklahoma area. Let me get that real quick here. And we're looking at again 500 millibar surface wind shear at over 110 knots, which is very concerning, and it can lead to a I feel Skippy, if you don't mind giving your opinion on this, what do you think? Do you think for the 22nd? Do you think that on Tuesday? Do you think the main threat will be isolated supercells?
I'm gonna take a look at reflectivity really quick. I'm pretty sure, just based off the wind parameters and what we have with this tornado threat, it does look like it's going to be a supercellular event with isolated supercells across much of eastern Texas and Texas.
Which,
so
if y'all look right here, this is the instantaneous flash rate. This is Monday at 4 a.m. You can already see what is to be the big storm already developing out here in New Mexico, and then if we push it forward, it just
So
develops even
it
more.
looks like it turns from a multicellular event into a more of a scattered event. Um, but of course, if you have like a squall line or something like that, you can always have embedded tornadoes, which it always tends to seem that squall lines have very high and large amounts of cape. Like back when we had that derecho back in 2020, the cape values on that derecho were well over or just well over 5,000 cape, which is very concerning, of course. And you never want to see 5,000 cape when there's a possibility for a supercellular event like this. But of course, we're not going to be seeing 5,000 cape. Like Skippy said, tops maybe 2,000 to 2,500 cape, and of course the wind shear reaching over 100 knots over Oklahoma and Texas. Um, it's all very concerning, and it's um, you always have want to make sure that you have a plan. If you ever under a tornado warning, you have a safe place. Get an interior room or closet. If you don't have a basement or a closet, you get an interior bathroom. Um, but you always have to have a plan, have a way to get alerts and everything like that.
Also, get a NOAA weather radio. That thing will wake you up in the night, and I know from
Well,
experience because it has.
yeah, especially Noah has a bunch of weather radios. I don't know exactly what model it is, but I know Skippy has one, and they're only about $30 on Amazon. So of course, I know if you don't like spending a lot of money, that's fine. But I definitely feel if you don't already have one, buy one, please. They keep you safe. And they're loud too, so they'll wake you up in the middle of the night.
Which y'all can see right here. This is still an instantaneous flash rate. This is 10 a.m. on Monday, and then the next. This is 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7. You can see some of the white right here for your lightning, which if there's a lot of lightning in a storm, that means there's quite a bit of energy. And you can see this is pretty much just covering all the way from northern Oklahoma all the way down to Mexico. Like you can see some of these storms actually going into Mexico.
And yeah, those storms just exploded with energy right there. If you go back before they started fueling up, you can see that one storm just blows as soon as it hits all that moisture and that mixture of cold air and warm air. It just explodes with energy and a large. You can see the storms are as wide as or reach across the entire Texas area. It's almost like if you live in Texas, you have a threat. But of course, there's very specific areas where the severe weather threat is determined.
I mean, just look at
So,
this. We push it out, we get 3,965 as our max. Next update, 10 p.m., 6,609. And then it slowly dies down because there's not enough convection. And then it just ramps back up on Tuesday, which will affect the Mississippi, Alabama, and even Georgia.
Skippy, why don't you take it away?
all right. So I've been looking at most of the GFS here, but I've also been looking at a few samples for both Monday and Tuesday. Again, it's kind of what I'm focusing on. There is there's there's very good agreement on at least 1,000 cape across much of I guess mainly eastern Texas. It's kind of like as far as you go with the dry line, which I do believe there will be a weak dry line in place, but as far as you go east with the dry line, the more of a severe weather threat you'll have. Looking at the long range models, the GEFS, there's much better agreements than there was in the last few days. Agreements what's going to happen, and it seems that instability stretches up into southern Missouri, all the way from southern Louisiana into southern Missouri for this threat. But the low pressure system will mainly be located in eastern New Mexico, and it will continue east um, throughout throughout the day. And it seems the cold front will of course be driven by that low pressure system, but the troughing becomes way more significant as the day progresses. Which also I do want to mention that the troughing and the ridging across central and I guess the northern U.S. and the central U.S. Uh, the troughing, as long as it speeds up in intensity, there will be more of a tornado threat, or it will increase the tornado threat as long as the trough moves pretty fast.
Which I
Yeah, and
also see even a chance of severe weather on Wednesday for Kentucky, Tennessee, uh, the Carolinas, Alabama again, Georgia, and then eventually it moves through Florida. And then I also see another little storm right here on Friday at 10 a.m., but that probably won't be too much, just shattered scours.
and what mainly is causing this is probably and what I think is when you're getting that cold air loft, which is a lot. There's been a lot of cold air lofts coming from Canada recently, and when you get those cold air lofts and that warm moisture, which you just depending on the timing of the cold air loft, when it comes down and reaches down into the southern U.S. and when that moisture is coming in, you get that real good mixture for severe storms. But when you have like a shorter cold air loft, it gives time for the warm air moisture to move up through like the Midwest and the central U.S. That's when you get threats for the more central areas like Kansas, Texas. No, sorry, not Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, places like that. Um, on pivotal weather, the 21st and 22nd, the supercell composite, which is just like I feel like it's more of an experimental thing on pivotal weather, but the supercell composite is almost well over 20, which is very concerning.
So I looked at the European model or the ECMWF model. Now it doesn't have convective allowing composites or parameters yet, which is kind of disappointing. But it does allow for looking at the trough and for central shear. And I've noticed that the trough does move a little slower on the European model. It does seem to be a little more slower than an average than the GFS is going, which could, I guess, kind of lower our tornado threat. However, it's stronger shear. There's way stronger shear in place across northern Texas, eastern Texas, and Louisiana. On those 2 days, it seems there's way stronger shear. However, the trough does not move as fast or effectively, which there's still going to be a really good tornado threat across these two states. But again, it's going to be depending on the trough speed, and it just seems with the ECMWF that the trough does not move as fast. Now, I will say there is a heightened and stronger LLJ or low level jet on the European model. However, it does seem that the low is driven more closely to the cold front, which could allow for a stronger dry line or for a stronger system in general if that advection pulls up and allows for more moisture intake across the southern states.
Okay, Carb, if you don't mind, real quick, if you don't mind opening up the 850 millibar height and relative vorticity on the Euro model. I think it should have that. You can find it there. So you can see multiple low pressure systems if you just play through the go at from the beginning and start from the very beginning and just play it through. You can see two major low pressure systems that, well, what I'm looking at here are two major low pressure systems, which it is what is causing the larger outbreaks, but of course, low pressure systems are usually the cause of severe weather. So you're looking at the loop here. I think what I'm looking at, it shows two, and then it here, I'll screen share real quick. If you would like to see here, hold on. All right, Carb, if you don't mind showing my screen here on the video.
Don't start.
Tell me when
Right.
you're ready.
No, hold on. All right, go.
Okay, so I'm looking at on pivotal weather the 850 millibar height and relative vorticity here. You'll watch the two low pressure system push through the Midwest. Just play them real quick. So I hope you saw that they're the two low pressure systems. Usually we don't. I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's also not common. We don't usually get two consecutive low pressure systems, one after another. But things happen when you get a mixture of warm air moisture and everything like that.
So, based off vorticity and all that, it does seem we have a pretty decent PVA, positive vorticity advection, which does seem to be occurring across southern Oklahoma and northern Texas. Now, if you don't know what a PVA is, it is the process that contributes to lifting of rising air. And again, with that rising air, that usually will allow for a parcel to go higher in the atmosphere, or that's kind of what instability is, but it also follows the same definition. But the rising motion will help moisture intake, will help shear, will help different wind speeds within that area. So we're going to have definitely a higher end tornado threat across much of this area based off vorticity.
Which that's pretty much it. So we'll probably post more videos about this as time gets closer and we get better models out there. Because right now we're just looking at the long range models, which most of the time are inaccurate. But once we get far close enough out for like the NAM and stuff, we'll post more videos and stuff. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, subscribe to all that good stuff. Helps us out a lot, and you get more people to see it. So see y'all next time. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.